Bricked, where are you? Come on back. You can bring your boy. Run your offense. Go 7-5. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, breaking down Miami after the Canes go down as an 18-point favorite in overtime against Georgia Tech at home. As an 18-point favorite in overtime to Georgia Tech, 28-21, a team in Georgia Tech that only defeated South Florida 14-10, lost to the Citadel, and lost everybody else by triple scores. Is Miami the worst program in the Power 5? Before you jump on me for that one, I'm emphasizing program, worst run program. It's so much more difficult to win at places like Oregon State, Kansas, Minnesota even. And Minnesota's really good. But places like Oregon State, a number of places in the Big 12, Iowa State, they have no players, hardly any players around them in the vicinity. They have to go all over the place. They've got to go to Florida and take the cast-offs in Florida. They have to go at remote places and find players and then recruit the very best players in their state and develop them because they are not top-notch players typically. Miami has players right in their backyard, and they can't even win games against what we thought was the worst team in the ACC. We thought Georgia Tech was the worst team in the ACC, but Georgia Tech was able to go on the road, and beat Miami 28-21 in overtime. All right, I took this one in, and I've got many thoughts here. First of all, the opening shot at the game, no one's at the game. So the announced crowd was 54,000 plus in a 65,000 capacity stadium. There were not 54,000 people there. There were 25,000 people there, maybe? The Miami offensive line right out of the gate could not handle the blitz. Number 17, Demetrius Knight, a true freshman, blindsided N'Kosi Perry. Actually, he came from his front side, not the blind side, but he totally shocked him in knocking him to the ground, forced the fumble for the touchdown by Jaquan Griffin. So right out of the gate, Georgia Tech punches Miami in the mouth, 7-0. Next drive, Miami pulls it together. N'Kosi Perry, KJ Osborne made some nice plays. They hooked up a couple times. It was beautiful. The Camp Harris screenplay was beautifully executed, set up, picture-perfect execution. The KJ Osborne punt return, the series in which he owned with first the punt return, in which he showed his just burst of speed, his long strides, outran the special teams to the corner, and turned it on from there. And then he catches the back shoulder touchdown from N'Kosi Perry, broke the plane. Great play by Osborne. He owned that series, and he's been playing well for the most part. A couple drop passes against Virginia, but playing well other than that. The Georgia Tech fake punt was remarkable. This punter, Presley Harvin, he threw a better pass than I see most quarterbacks in college football throw on a regular basis. Consider this. Throwing the ball down the sideline that far, typically, what do quarterbacks do? They sail it out of bounds because you misjudge how much you have to keep it in bounds. He threw it perfectly to Nathan Cottrell, who had only caught 2 passes this year. It only touched the ball twice, but he hauled it in. And I don't know what the short corner for Miami was doing. He just was flat-footed. Watch Cottrell run right past him and catch the touchdown pass. Beautifully executed by Georgia Tech. One of the most fun plays I saw on Saturday. All right, I thought Miami had a safety. So to the defense's credit, I thought that they stopped the quarterback in play for a safety, but they ruled it out at the 1. What happened after that, once they got the punt back and Miami got the ball, was the touchdown and the screenplay to Cam Harris. This is something that they evidently do extremely well. Cam Harris does a nice job of selling the screen, as does the offensive line. Good execution on the screenplay for Miami. They scored the touchdown 21-14 with just about 10 minutes left in the second quarter. Missed field goals, 3 of them. Awful chip shots, all of them. What can you say about that? Find a kicker. All right, the Graham to Brown touchdown play at the end of the first half for Georgia Tech was the thing of beauty as well. Graham, I should say, stepped up in the pocket. He had pass rush in his face. He delivered the ball on time and right over the left shoulder, or the right shoulder, I should say, of Brown for the touchdown. DJ Ivy got burned on that one. Again, there's seconds to play in the half. He should know, don't let the wide receiver behind you, but he did. So we've got a 21-21 game at halftime. Two very flawed teams. An ugly game on many sorts, in many ways, but entertaining nonetheless. Third quarter, N'Kosi Perry takes a sack in which he shouldn't have. That knocked him out of field goal range, or what for the most part would be field goal range. For most teams would be field goal range. So maybe N'Kosi Perry knew that it didn't matter, but they at least could have punted, and they did. Miami on 2 consecutive series. And I know that Miami fans, you take pride in this defense, and in terms of personnel, it should be a top-notch defense. I think it's a good defense. When I say good, I think it's top 30 to 40 in the nation good. It's not as good as sometimes we think it may be. Not as good as maybe the personnel would say, or the veteran leadership on the defense would lead us to believe. Twice, Georgia Tech, not a good passing team. Very little threat of precision passing downfield. They have to scheme their pass plays downfield. They have to scheme it with play action, with bootlegs, with sprints to give the quarterback passing lanes and to a specific receiver. The quarterbacks do not drop back and pick apart the defense and read the defense. So they basically have to manufacture a passing game. So there's little threat of the pass. And on 2 consecutive series, the Miami defense was set up after beautiful punts, beautiful coverage, picture perfect again by Miami. They can run screen plays and they can cover punts. Downed inside the 5-yard line. Twice, Jordan Mason ran Georgia Tech right out of trouble. Miami should have been able to pin them inside the 5, forced a punt, got the ball at midfield. But both times, Jordan Mason just ran it down Miami's throats and ran them out of trouble. The first one, they got 3 first downs. They got it out to the 40 or 45-yard line and flipped the field. On the second one, they converted. They got the remarkable catch by Adonicus Sanders on 3rd and 12. Did you see this play along the sideline? Beautifully thrown ball, regardless of who the Georgia Tech quarterback was throwing it to. Adonicus Sanders pulled it in. Excellent catch on a 3rd and 12 to bail them out. Twice on 3rd and 4, Mason beat the Miami defense to the corner. That shouldn't happen. 3rd and 4 beats the whole defense to the corner. Twice on 3rd and 4 to convert first downs. And Jordan Mason with 20 carries for $141. That's 7 yards per carry. But they get down to the 22-yard line. It looks like Georgia Tech's going to break the deadlock at 21. But Jameis Griffin fumbles. Good play by Shaq Quarterman. The veteran makes the big play, punches the ball out. Miami averts the score there. Drive it all the way down the field. Look great on offense. N'Kosi Perry, pinpoint passing. Cam Harris had a couple nice runs. Cam Harris needs to continue to get the football. Apparently, he's done a nice job. But Bubba backs and misses another field goal. This from 26 yards this time. 4 minutes left to play. Perry to D. Wiggins. A thing of beauty. D. Wiggins burns the defense all the way down to the 26-yard line. N'Kosi Perry on the scramble down to the 11. Then they throw the fade to Osborne. Excellent play on the pass breakup by Christian Campbell. The Georgia Tech corner saved the day, saved the game. Miami most likely would have scored right there the game-winning touchdown with only about 25 to 30 seconds left in the game. So credit Christian Campbell for breaking up the pass on KJ Osborne that most likely would have won the game for the Canes. But Miami was too conservative. They were setting up for another field goal. They were setting up, except for the play to Osborne, we saw underneath throws that didn't get the job done, set up for the field goal. We're running the ball when they were around the 10-yard line. It just looked like a team that had confidence in its field goal kicker, which they should not. What happens? It gets blocked. 26 seconds left. They can win the game. Blocked field goal. We go to overtime. Jordan Mason had a beautiful run. It was a beautifully blocked play in which they sealed off the Miami defensive front. 3 Miami players missed tackles. Romeo Finley, I saw in particular, came up to fill the hole, could not. He whiffed on the tackle. 3 missed tackles. Jordan Mason runs it all the way down to the 2-yard line. Touchdown on the next play. Okay, Miami gets the ball. They get it down to that 3rd and 4, that critical 3rd and 4, or then a 4th and 4. On the 3rd and 4, N'Kosi Perry was flushed from the pocket, couldn't find anyone open in the end zone, had to throw it out of the end zone. So we're down to 4th and 4, Georgia Tech leading by 7. Brevin Jordan, what happened here, people? I only got the one look on the condensed game version. It looked like Brevin Jordan caught the ball and lunged ahead for the first down. Unless they ruled that his knee was down before he lunged. But he clearly gained the yards needed for the first down. Unless, again, his knee was down. So I did not see a replay on this. I looked around YouTube, could not find a replay on the final Brevin Jordan play because based on just they showed instant replays on just about every play in this game, but they didn't on the most important play of the game, and it looked like Brevin Jordan made the first down. So Miami should have had a chance to win the game unless, again, his knee was down. Georgia Tech, I just went through the stats, and they have not played a murderer's row of a schedule except for Clemson. Georgia Tech was averaging 304 yards per game total offense. They had 345 against Miami, meaning they are besting their yardage total by about 12 to 15% against Miami, which is supposed to have a good defense. And Georgia Tech has played the likes of the Citadel, Duke, North Carolina, South Florida. Okay, passing yards per game was about equal. What they typically do then versus Miami, they have the 121st rated pass offense in the nation. Just talking about yards per game, not efficiency. Against Miami on the ground, averaging 162 yards on the ground per game coming in, they hit up Miami for 207. Georgia Tech defensively gives up 435 yards per game. They only gave up 357 to Miami. That's 80-some yards less to Miami in an overtime game. And Georgia Tech came into Coral Gables giving up 32 points per game. They only gave up 21 to Miami. So Miami played, again, what was supposed to be the worst team in the ACC. And even statistically, Georgia Tech played Miami much better than they have played the likes of the average team that they've played. Sure, Clemson's in that mix statistically, but also the Citadel, South Florida, Duke, North Carolina. So, Georgia Tech with one win over South Florida, who's been awful, by 4 points. They've lost to the Citadel. They lost to Temple by 22, North Carolina by 16, and Duke by 18. They were an 18-point underdog against Miami. They win by 7. I don't know how else to slice it right here. Miami has top 15 to 20 talent in the nation. They are not elite. They're not great. Even if they played up to their standards of the recruiting rankings, they would not compete with Clemson for an ACC championship. But they would win this division just based on the recruiting rankings. We know that it counts much more than that, how you develop the players. Look at Wisconsin. Look at others. I do not believe that Manny Diaz should be fired after this season. As deplorable as it is, it's an 8-4 season that I predicted, and I was blasted for downgrading Miami down to an 8-4 team. I obviously overestimated them. This is what they've got left. They have a lot of teams they could beat. They've got a lot of teams that could beat them. It's like the entire schedule for this team. Down the stretch, they go to Pitt. Pitt is playing a pretty good football right now. Obviously, they're coming off a big win against Syracuse. They're 2-1 in the ACC, 5-2 overall. I give Miami a 40% chance of beating Pitt on the road. Then they travel to Florida State. Now, Florida State's coming off an okay effort against a Wake Forest team that's better than Miami, and Florida State lost 22-20, missed a field goal from 50 yards with about 4 minutes left in that game. So at Florida State's playing better football than Miami. Not by a ton, because they've got their issues as well at 3-4. I'll give Miami a 40 to 45% chance of winning at Doak Campbell. Louisville at Miami. Louisville played Clemson really well for a half. I know the final score was 45-10, but what would the final score be if Miami played Clemson? I will give Miami a 60% chance of beating Louisville. It's at home. They beat FIU. If they can't beat FIU, then give it up. Final game of the season at Duke. Miami at Duke. Yes, Miami's got better talent, but we keep hearing that, and Duke is playing better football. Duke beat this Georgia Tech team by 18. So I like Duke with a 60% chance of winning at home against Miami. So they're all winnable games. They're all losable games, except you would consider FIU to be a gimme. Miami goes 2-3 down the stretch. They finish 5-7, or do they pull it together for at least a 3-2 finish to go 6-6? FIU's a definite win. They only have to win one other game to get to 5. They've got to win 2 other out of the 4. So let's say they split against Pitt, FSU, Louisville, and Duke. Let's get Miami to postseason play by going 2-2 against those 4 juggernauts. Love to know your comments, your thoughts about Miami football. And again, I'd love to know the truth about the Brevin Jordan play that ended the game on the measurement. Like, comment, share the videos, and subscribe right here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football.